Hello and welcome to Citizens Forum. I'd like to start by thanking our volunteer crew and the Shaw staff that makes this program happen every week. The first part of Citizens Forum is always the Walter and Jack show. So Walter, I'll just start off with something I heard on CFAX this week. They were talking about the Blue Bridge, and the cost is going up over $100 million now. And that's sort of what the lead-in guy was saying on CFAX. He said, the cost is up again. We'll ask City Hall what's going on. And I thought, yeah, right. Like, if CFAX had told us the truth back when this project started, we wouldn't be in the mess we're in now. And CFAX and the TC and the other local media should be held accountable, because with the Blue Bridge, which is now over $100 million and really flirting with some major disasters, the original recommendation from the engineers was a repair at under $10 million. And in the memo, which was published in Focus magazine but never really picked up by anybody else in the media here, the guy even, the engineer even made a joke and said, yeah, and we'll put in a little budget for maintenance too, ha ha ha. Because what the staff had done was they'd stopped the maintenance of the Blue Bridge months or a year or two earlier. And of course that made it begin to look derelict. And the public was never really told that either. So the original recommendation on the Blue Bridge was a repair of less than $10 million, but by the time we voted, because some citizens forced a vote on the issue, the official story in the media and from our city councillors here in Victoria was that it was going to cost more to fix the old bridge than to build a new bridge. And that was at that time about 45 million, something like that, I think. So look at how we've been just taken to the cleaners. Plus it cost us, as you mentioned last week, it cost us the rail bridge, which is a huge loss to this city, because we should be having rail coming in from Langford and the western communities into downtown Victoria. We could, let's just say we could, along the ENN line, the track is there. It could be done for less than the cost of the new interchange they're going to build at Mackenzie and Admirals, right? So something is very, very wrong here. That's all I can say.
Well, trying to get information is a tough job. I mean, trying to get into the issues and truly understand them yourself. And let's face it, nobody has time. We're all working, we're all trying to make a living, and we did rely heavily on the media and the press to take the time. Somebody would investigate the issue and dig into some of these other, circumstances and consequences of the decisions. But we don't have that now, and we're in the dark. And the Blue Bridge was a prime example of how, what can go wrong. And, we will be worse off at the other end of the process because we won't have the rail bridge anymore. And it'll virtually be impossible to get a rail bridge across there now. And I think that's really a sad day because, as you say, the cost would have been so much more reasonable. Now when they start talking light rail transit or some other design like that, they'll be following the highway, probably. And, it'll cost, a couple of $1 million.
Well, the budget for they do have a plan. The plan is to go from western communities to downtown through Uptown Mall, which will make Uptown Mall the new center of the city at a cost of, I think the number is $925 million. I would say more than 10 times what we could have the same system running on the ENN. So we're going to pay like $1 billion by the time we're through to make Walmart the new downtown for Victoria.
I guess it's great if these are the things you want to do, because not only do you commit the crime, but nobody's ever going to report on it forever.
Yeah.
It's just like you can get away with it and nobody's ever going to bring it up later.
And what I don't like is just the secrecy involved. Like the plans are made, the plans are implemented, they take place and they're created, but it's got nothing to do with the people who live in the city. We're just the suckers who pay the bills for so much of what happens. And, I hate, it's negative and cynical, but that seems to be, I wish it wasn't. I would be so happy if just, true, honest decisions were made in the public interest by the people who rule over us. So I wish it would happen.
I've always talked about the NDP and the Conservatives collaborating in the federal election. And, this all came up during the Stephen Harper regime, during his reign of terror. But, they initially gave up the funding under him. And I think that was a strong NDP Conservative collaboration. Now, the NDP claim that, we want this because it's going to give us jobs. But, not that.
Are you talking about the Blue Bridge?
No, the sewage treatment.
Oh, the sewage treatment. Yeah.
And maybe the Blue Bridge, too. I don't know where they'd fit into that. But what we have is a situation where there just seems to be so much government and so much decision-making going on. Nobody's really aware of all the ramifications, and there's a lot of research that doesn't get done, for instance, with the sewage treatment, that really doesn't give us a firm footing on where to start from for decision-making. And it seems to work just fine for a lot of people in power, let's say, and everybody else is, we're going to foot the bill.
Yeah. The original CRD plan was to spend $1 billion for, I would say, zero environmental benefit and possibly even environmental cost for that $1 billion. And they came with, they came very, very close to doing it. It was just because so many people in the city, really, really put in a huge amount of energy and effort and work and money to stop them that they got stopped. But it seems they may be coming back with almost exactly the same plan, and people, we can't fight them every time. They may get it through. They're planning to make a decision in mid-January. Our mayor, Lisa Helps, who's the chair of the board, keeps saying what a democratic and people-run process this is. But you and I actually went to the meetings, and I don't feel it was a people-run process. I feel, we all went to some meetings and did sort of what we were told to do or asked to do, but then everything got changed and decisions are made, and I've never heard back from them. And I think there was an agenda in place from the beginning, and we're seeing it getting played out, and we're being suckered again.
It is so confusing. Like, we tried. We went to their meetings, and we tried to get engaged. And, we've been kind of hip to the scene and how it goes. And still, there were more consultants at those meetings than there were citizens.
Well, there were a lot of consultants.
They were just crawling, Jack. And when we went to those tables and we gave our comments, they would never write down anything I said.
And who can blame them?
No, this is true. But the thing is, it was so funny because they controlled us right at the table. So when it came to the consultant standing up and telling the head table what we had done, it was some kind of weird fabrication.
No, and you're absolutely right, because you made a few points that you wanted to be put onto the public record, and they wouldn't write them down the way you said them.
No.
It had to be kind of changed around, which is, why not just write down what people say? But it gets spun from the very beginning.
Well, we were put in such an awkward position because we were going to give our advice when we didn't really know the options. We didn't really fully understand all of the ramifications of the options. They're not coming forward with any fully truthful information about what these options are and what the possibilities are. We just didn't have any information. Then they're engaging us in the process, which is a totally fake process. It's shameful.
And it's now months later, and as far as I know, we still don't have any information on what's technically possible, what is financially out there. I mean, I feel completely outside of any process, and I think most of the people in the city are in the same boat, yet we're being told that it's kind of a people-run process. And maybe it is. I mean, maybe something wonderful is going to come out of this, but it doesn't seem to be that way.
Well, let's hope anyway.
Tomorrow is Remembrance Day, and it bothers me that the media pretends and puts out this message of their, to remember the dead, remember the suffering, respect the great work and heroism of people, in the past who have fought in wars. But I really think that the media, I don't know the word to use, they disrespect all those who have died because they won't tell us the truth now. And it's almost sometimes like I feel like we're being pushed into another war by the media of today. So what I mean is this. It's historical fact that corporate America funded Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. For the media of this country to never, ever report that, while allowing the creation of the next enemy now, which is ISIS, by kind of the same kinds of people, and to create a feeling for war in the country. And in fact, we are at war in Syria still. We are bombing a country. That is an act of war. And so if people Google Bush, Hitler, and Guardian, the Guardian is the British newspaper, you'll see that story and many, many others of how corporate America was involved in creating the Nazis in Germany. And I guess they wanted war, but, and that's just fact. But how can we pretend to live in a democracy and know anything about what's going on today if we don't know that fact? Because when I found out, it makes you think, well, what's the truth about today? Corporate America funded Adolf Hitler and the Nazis. Why won't the media report that?
We'll start out with assuming that they're lying to you. You might be surprised once in a while there might be something truthful. It is, there's millions and millions of people have suffered and died needlessly. Based upon the evidence. It was a manipulation. The First World War, Second World War, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, start listing them off. They're unnecessary. Nothing is resolved really. A whole lot of people suffered and died. A lot of money changed hands. A lot of people got very, very rich. A lot of corporations became fantastically powerful. And we entered in a new age after the Second World War with the military-industrial complex, so-called, in the United States, but it was really worldwide. And then you plug in the media, plug in education, university, research complex. I mean, if you put them all together, it's a weapon against the people. And, it's sad, to think about how much suffering is going on in the world, because these people want to make a buck and they want to stay in control. And that's not going to take away anything for all the service that people have given to this country in the military. I'm not disrespecting them. They go and do their job and they pay the price. But they shouldn't have to go and fight in those wars. It doesn't make any sense. We don't have to fight in these wars. We can solve these problems.
In fact, not only we can solve them, but the same people who are creating,
Yeah.
I mean, if corporate America funded and helped create the Nazis, then what in the world is going on? And I say if, but there is no if. They did. It's historical fact. So it's like we have to rethink why do they want to start these wars in which so many people on all sides are killed and maimed and everything? And then they, decades later, I mean, the people running the country know the truth, and yet they won't allow their media to tell us the facts. And here we are now being pushed into the next war. And, you know, which leads us into maybe the TPP. Because while we're all focused on these wars that they're starting, they, the corporations, under the guise of the TPP and so many other of these corporate trade deals, are taking over the planet, right? And that's what it is. They are now passing the laws under the TPP that will put them above the nation state. And that goes completely unreported by our totally corrupt, corporate-owned, lying media. And
you know, Jack, I think what Murray Rankin did before the last election, he worked for a company that did exactly that used the trade agreement to sue the Canadian government, and they won. When the Canadian government was trying to protect the environment and didn't want to open up a mine, Murray Rankin, gave his legal expert opinion to the mining company, and those tribunals that are held behind closed doors by people we don't know decided that the Canadian government couldn't do that they had to pay that mining company $300 million.
I don't know if the final amount has been settled, but that was the amount it was for.
That's the amount being tossed around. I have a hard time getting over that. That sounds to me that's a betrayal that Murray Rankin did to the Canadian people. If there's another way to look at that, I'm very open to talk about it, but it looks like betrayal to me. The thing is that it's not even being questioned in the media. You know, as our sovereignty is being eroded, serious issues around what are we as a nation? Can we actually protect our environment? Or do we have to pay out hundreds of millions of dollars every time somebody wants to build a mine and we say no?
Yeah, and that's what that case was. They just wanted to build a mine.
Yeah.
The process said no, and yet in the end we were sued for $300 million, although the final amount is going to be decided, I think, within a few months.
This is very serious stuff because, as you say, what will be left of our country after these agreements are all signed?
And that's the plan, right? That's the plan. They are, the corporations, I mean, they're already tremendously powerful.
Maybe I should touch on this one story here. I brought a couple in, but just saw this online, Huffington Post.
Oh,
CBC actually. And it's St. John, New Brunswick, opts for Spanish company for its P3 drinking water system. Basically what the story goes through is that they have a group of multinational corporations going to come in and companies that are going to come in and build this water purification system for them. But they have a statement in here. I'd just like to read it, Jack, if you'd let me, and because it's really pertinent to what we're talking about. And the issue is, what sort of agreement do we have with these companies when they come in and do work for us? And it's what they say here is, it is possible that the Madrid-based company could invoke the investor-state dispute settlement provision of the Canada-European Union Comprehensive Economic Trade Agreement, CETA, should it be ratified. If St. John were to decide in the future to make their drinking water utility fully public, what can happen is the company that built the plant can then sue the city for losses. So what we're dealing with is the same thing here in Victoria with this P3 proposal for building our sewage treatment system. We could be locked into long-term agreements, which if we ever wish to get out of them, the company can sue us for lost revenue. So again, they're holding us ransom here. When we start getting into P3s, we're talking about a very long-term agreement. And by the way, the P3s, I did contact P3 Canada and asked them if they could send me a list of the projects in which they could show that they actually saved the public money. They don't have a one. They do not have any project that they've ever financed that could show that they did it and saved us money had been done another way or fully public or whatever. So we have a situation where these companies are coming in here charging a real big buck to do the work. We're being held ransom there. We can't say no to the P3s. We don't say if we say no to them, they don't give us the funding from the federal government. So, and then we're stuck with them, and we try to get rid of them. They're going to make us pay going out the door.
It sounds great, doesn't it?
Well, we should be talking about this before that they make this decision. And we should be really, the public should be thinking about this expense and what is it going to mean if we sign these deals. And we're not getting any information on that from our elected representatives.
No, that's what I'm seeing. There's kind of no. I'm not. You know, where does the public get? We're being let down. There should be just, you know, handouts and websites and phone numbers we can call.
Yeah.
1-800, you know, City of Victoria, and say what I've got this question about. Like, I'd like to know: are we talking about a secondary treatment plant or a tertiary? And I mean, I just don't know. And yet the decision is 2 months away now. Final decision, so they say.
And again, it's the P3s that apparently, who have all the money or who are going to withdraw it if we don't make this decision right away. Yeah. So see how they want us to rush a decision. I always worry about that. If anybody says, oh, you have to make a decision right away, the red flag comes up for me and says, well, what's the rush? I mean, it takes a while.
The red flag may come up for you, but the finger is coming up for me, and I'm told we're out of time.
Okay.
Thank you, Walter.
No worries.
And thanks for watching this segment of Citizens.